Hello, I'm Phillip Taylor from Richmond Green Chambers, talking about this book, The Dangerous Rise of Therapeutic Education, written by Kathryn, Ecclestone and Dennis Hayes. It's a book I came across when I was doing my PGCE, and I found it very interesting as a book. I gave it the title, Trying to Set the Educational Balance Straight. Now, clearly this is a book which took a lot of courage to write, and it's a book like this that one reads through and then you can imagine what the fellow tutors that you deal with might feel, who don't necessarily share your point of view about the educational world. And it could be summed up with the subtitle, Let's Get Rid of the Curriculum of the Self. The two professors, Ecclestone and Hayes, have produced an important work here on educational policy and thinking, and it's one which, in my view, is much needed because it gives some balance to the current debate that we're having on the future of education and the type of people we're producing for the 21st century. So what do we mean when we talk about therapeutic education? It was a title I hadn't really come across in much detail, but understood when I read the book what it meant. There's no single definition, but they have a go, and they say therapy was once regarded as a cure or treatment for people who were disturbed or troubled or mentally ill. And they then go on to say that the term has now changed its meaning and become a positive value. Obviously, this is where I started thinking about using it for my PGCE work. Over 11, in fact it's not 11, it's 8 chapters. They look at different areas, and the introductory chapter is entitled In an Emotional State, and they examine how the government's come to sponsor therapeutic education as part of New Labour's approach to social justice, as it's currently known. And they offer examples of popular concern about emotional well-being and the therapeutic orthodoxies that underpin and reinforce the interest that's currently being expressed by the government. They then talk, in fact in my view, courageously, about the political evolution from ideas about conferring esteem on a vulnerable public to the more active promotion of the means to be happy. And they summarise how their arguments have led to a new role for education. And of course, the book, as I saw it, actually was really a critique of what New Labour, as a government, have actually done to the United Kingdom with their policies, embracing this concept of therapy in all its guises for the last 12 years. I agree, in fact, with most of what the authors have said in this book. Of course, many readers will know that it's no secret that much of what we teach today doesn't meet the requirements of society or business. Obviously, that's the strength of this particular book. As I said, there is a need for a balance, of course, when you look at the whole area. And I said, when I looked at the curriculum of self, that there's one subheading which really comes home. It says there are a lot of damaged people out there. Well, I actually taught quite a few, and lovely people in their own ways, but with a great deal of difficulty and problems actually facing society. The author's final conclusion, which I thought was interesting, was that they said, don't change the subject. Let's look at this issue. And they write that therapeutic education exposes children and older people to intrusive interventions that probe, elicit and assess their emotions and make them accountable for them. And of course that's really what this is about. It reinforces the view that they are vulnerable and at risk, but there's got to be some accountability. And I like the best bit of the conclusion when they said that therapeutic education is social engineering of the feeble, passive subject on an unprecedented scale. The problem we've all got is, what are we going to do with this group of people that need basically help. The balance needs to be redressed clearly, because the saddest thing of all is that we're producing people who can't read and write properly, and have actually got very little that they can offer the business community, or in fact to a limited extent the public sector. Watching the views over the summer when I was doing my final parts of the PGCE, I reflected on the effects of the experiment and the incidents of violence that we've actually now got on the streets of Britain. Obviously the biggest issue for most of us is serious challenging behaviour. Of course, it's not just in the classroom, it's all over the place. I very much hope that after 2010, when the next newish baby boom is coming in, we've got a new government of whatever persuasion, that the educational balance of the new government will be redressed, and that we get away from the dominance of popular culture on social thought, so that we look at expanding and not diminishing human potential, but we put therapy policy in the limitation box where it belongs. We should be grateful to these two professors, Kathryn Ecclestone and Dennis Hayes, for having the guts to stand up and be counted on this issue. More power to them. Do read it, whether you're actually doing what I did, which was obviously a proper certificate in education, but read it from a more general point of view, especially if you've got children. Thank you very much.